All right, folks, we're going wheels up on a Wednesday night as we open up the 2016 WNBA playoff coverage. Good evening, folks, and good evening, WNBA and women's basketball fans, and welcome into the WNBA 365 Network, your 24/7 365 comprehensive home for everything revolving around the WNBA and the rest of the women's basketball world. Back with you folks this evening, tipping off the playoff coverage with the first two single elimination round matchups here tonight, while also covering a few other things in regards to the entire league and also the women's basketball world. Joined tonight, folks, in the hang-up in the meantime by Marquez Anderson, the great writer and contributor to the Project Spurs Network and also StarsHoops.net. And, of course, Tanisha Stewart joining us up from Los Angeles. We'll be joined, though, folks, sometime soon by Crystal Thomas, who's working on some technical problems right now. And, of course, Kyle McClure joining you folks here from Studio 171 in San Diego. M.A. and Shorty, good to see you guys tonight. How's it going this evening?
It's going good for me.
Yeah, same here. Going great as well. First night, playoff action. It was something to see, most definitely.
And like normal, folks, we'll take your input on any of the variety of subjects between the games, the pregame, the national anthem receiving by taking your input, of course, on Facebook, on Twitter, and in our live chat box over at facebook.com/WNBA365, or hit us up over on Twitter at WNBA365, at Calamac3, at ShortyMamba24, at O Marquez, or at Pup1010 with the hashtag WNBA365, or we can also get your input in the live chat box if you are going to be viewing us live tonight, folks. Find the chat box in the right corner of your screen and type in any responses, questions, comments, or concerns. And like normal, we'll try to get to your commentary when we have a break in the action. With that, folks, we had two poll questions as well tonight on the network Twitter handle this evening. We'll get to those results momentarily tonight, and then we'll kind of throw it around. So, of course, the first one we asked was, after seeing tonight's first two games, are you for or against, thumbs up, thumbs down, with the single elimination rounds for the opening two rounds? And then the main question of the night is, if the WNBA was to tweak the format in the future for the postseason, which best of series format would you have liked? It was 2 out of 3, 3 out of 5, or 4 out of 7. We'll have those results. They have gone final. We'll get to those momentarily. So now welcome in Crystal Thomas joining us as well from Los Angeles. KT, good to see you tonight. How's it going tonight?
Hi to all the haters in the panel except for Callan. I'm good.
Of course, folks, find Crystal on Twitter as well at Pup1010 on Twitter. Well, guys, we'll get to the first game of the night, the Mercury and Fever. But, of course, guys, overshadowed by the big talking point, though, on the national news realm, of course, following in the footsteps of backup San Francisco 49ers quarterback Colin Kaepernick, both the Fever and Mercury all elected to take knees during the night's national anthem, including the entire Fever roster on their knees, or at least taking a knee for their stance, of course, with Kaepernick as well doing this during the NFL season that has, of course, kind of started to have a bit of a movement and following, either on a good side of a story or a negative side of a story. And, of course, Shorty, I knew, though, that we were not going to be immune from this with the league in regards to this. Of course, I kind of knew it was going to happen sometime soon. I was kind of waiting like, we might see something about this maybe in the postseason. Sure enough, the first game of the playoffs, and here we go with the protest of the national anthem done by the entire Fever roster. Again, all the players for Indiana taking a knee, Misty Bass notably for the Mercury, and one other player also took a knee, I should say, during the national anthem this evening. And Shorty, this is again, this has kind of been, a pro and con, positive and negative talking point in regards to, again, what we have seen going on. But Shorty, was I surprised by this? No, because as I recall telling you guys a while back, Seattle Seahawks defensive back Michael Bennett really praised the WNBA players when they were going through that phase, guys, of those fines for not complying with the uniform policy, of how he said, they are the only professional athletes really standing up for what they believe in and really using their platform as a athlete and also, using their voice to have their voices heard about what they see as wrong in the world today. So, Shorty, I guess, kind of building off of what Michael Bennett said, and also Carmelo Anthony as well from the New York Knicks also bashing the WNBA for finding the players for those Black Lives Matter and those Dallas police officer T-shirts. Shorty, I guess, what's your overall thoughts, though, about seeing, an entire team and two other players, of course, electing to take a knee during tonight's national anthem before the first game of the postseason in Indianapolis. So final thoughts about this are what? Because you pretty much knew as well, Tanisha, that eventually this was going to happen, and it would, of course, get out into the media. But what's your overall thoughts, more importantly?
Yes, overall, I knew this was going to happen, and it wasn't a surprise because we know that the WNBA, and its players started the whole protesting with the, turning in and out of their, warm-ups and things like that. And of course, we had the whole ordeal with the fines and whatnot. And even after that, with that whole situation headed into Rio, I recall seeing a comment from Tina Charles, who said, even though, they were going to be in Rio and they couldn't protest during the Olympics, but she did say that after they, were to come back from Rio, the players were going to, brainstorm pretty much together and come up with ways to still try to protest and keep, the protest going. So it was a surprise that, all the players, or pretty much majority of the players at least, collectively decided, okay, let's continue this protest into the playoffs. And that's what you saw today. And I have a whole lot of respect for the players to, continue to allow their voices to be heard even through the playoffs.
Again, Marquez, it really started, I think, more so not just Colin Kaepernick of the San Francisco 49ers taking the knees during the preseason games in the NFL this year, and he's done so ever since. But more so, I think this whole movement was spurred, though, whether people want to agree or not. It was started, though, by the WNBA and the players, again, that really rallied behind, the Black Lives Matter T-shirts or the Dallas police officer T-shirts or the black warm-up shirts that, of course, led to fines by the WNBA front office while in the latter part of July, right before the Olympic break. And that's kind of where the conversation started about athletes using their platform to talk about the social injustice that we are still facing, sadly, in 2016 amongst either the police and African Americans right now in the U.S. But I guess, Marquez, and I still don't think, though, MA, going back to the point that I brought up again about how Michael Bennett, here a star NFL player, really praised the WNBA players and really bashed his NFL counterparts for, again, not coming out and saying something about these issues where, here a lesser league, pretty much, on the back burner of pro sports, raised more awareness about this issue than the NFL did before the preseason started. So I guess, Marquez, your overall thoughts, because I think we knew it was going to happen sometime soon, but what is your final thoughts, though, again, about seeing both the Mercury and Fever, again, using their platform and their voice, again, to say what's up about the social injustice problems that we are facing still in the U.S.?
Well, I mean, it's not something that is going to get fixed overnight because, the same things seem to repeat over and over again because, it just happened a day or two ago. So, I think if you have a platform and you're using it to inflict positive changes, then I think you should do it. Because if you're just ignoring your platform and your ability to make that change, then what are you really doing? And I think for all the Fever, at least, and at least two players for the Mercury to take the knee, I think it shows solidarity and it shows that they care and they want things to change because a lot of players have been vocal about it, of course, with the fines and the T-shirts and everything else that happened. So, in order for a change to happen, you have to have people to act. And I think that's what the players are doing.
So again, Crystal, a movement spurred on, of course, by San Francisco 49ers backup quarterback Colin Kaepernick. Of course, he was sitting during the national anthem, then elected to take a knee during the national anthem, has done so since the third week of the NFL preseason and through the first two games for the 49ers this NFL season. But again, Crystal, I'm going to go back though once more and say that, again, more so with Colin, I guess, kind of being, one of the main voices. But I still say, though, Crystal, that the WNBA and its players are more so the main voices behind this issue. Because, again, this really started, though, before the Rio Olympic Games. And we always know, guys, that 9 times out of 10, the Olympic Games, winter or summer, are normally used to make political stances. Who can forget, of course, 2 American boxers with the fist in the air after winning gold in the Olympics back in the early 70s and the 80s, of course, with that. We've seen a lot of NFL players with the fist in the air or taking knees following Kaepernick's league. But again, Crystal, I think, though, that a lot of credit, though, positive credit, bad credit, what have you, or wherever you may be on the issue, does go, though, to the 6 teams that were fined, again, for the, uniform protocol issue with either the Black Lives Matter T-shirts or with the Dallas police T-shirts or what have you. So I guess, Crystal, overall thoughts, though, again, about seeing the WNBA using the platform again, one full team and two players on the opposing team again, electing to take knees during the anthem tonight at Bankers Life Fieldhouse in Indianapolis. Final thoughts are what?
Wasn't it track athletes with the fists and not boxers? I thought
it was one of the two.
Track stars, but I think credit has to go to the whole league. I mean, I don't know if it just has to go to those teams that were fined. I think those teams that were fined probably set the precedent for the protest, but I don't know if you could give them all the credit. I mean, I think a lot of teams wanted to protest, but just didn't know how to go about it. I'm happy that they did that. I think they took a stand. They let it be known that, yeah, we're pro athletes, but we can still get down for a cause that means a lot to so many people. And I thought it was cool. I mean, I felt it was a respectful way of doing it. I mean, they weren't out of line. A lot of people may disagree, and that's okay. Everybody has their own opinions, but I thought the fact that they had enough bravery to do that during a playoff game, that's very important. I thought that was amazing, and 5 thumbs up if I had 5 thumbs. But I think that's pretty awesome to me. That's bravery, especially with the way the president was fighting people earlier, and I think that was brave on their point to do that.
One quick comment, guys, from the chat box from our good man in the box, Todd Mintz, who says, guys, in this issue, he says, and he's right, I believe, freedom of speech should never let or have players get censored or even fined. His only concern, though, for the WNBA is it's starving for positive PR, and this will get a lot of negativity in the media with that. But again, folks, it was bound to happen. But of course, tonight, the Fever roster, also 2 members of the Phoenix Mercury taking knees during the national anthem, of course, in protest of what has, of course, been the social injustice that has gone on with the African-American population in the U.S., and they are gunning for change. And hopefully we will get it for everybody sometime very, very soon. With that, guys, more importantly, on the court tonight and the final score in the first game, it is Phoenix in the season for Indiana, 89-78, in what was a 3-quarter battle up until the wheels came off for the Fever of the night, led by Diana Taurasi, 20 points in the game for Phoenix, followed up by a big night from Brittany Griner and Duana Bonner, 18 points each. Candice Dupree with 12. Kenny Taylor also with 12, also scoring the night for the Mercury. Marna Chargai with 5. Lindsey Harding and Kelsey Bone with 2 points each. Misty Bass did play but did not score. Alex Harden, Isabel Harrison, and Sonja Petrovic, all DNPs. Coaches' decisions. The final box for the Fever of the night, led by Marissa Coleman and Tamika Catchings in her final game, 13 points apiece. Marina Larkins with 12, Brianne January with 12, Erica Wheeler with 10, Shanice Johnson with 8, Lenina Kaiser and Natalie Achanwa with 4 each, and Tiffany Mitchell 2 points, 10 minutes played. Maggie Lucas, Devereaux Peters, and Jeanette Poland, all 3 DNPs. Coach's decision. The game played tonight from the Bankers Life Fieldhouse in Indianapolis, Indiana. They told tense tonight in the ball game, or at the game tonight, 6,282. Time of the game, 2 hours and 2 minutes tonight. The officials for the night's game were Tom Nunez, Byron Jarrett, and Maj Forsberg. 1 tech in the game issued on Indiana. 17 times the lead changed, and 4 times this game was tied. And Shorty, in a game that was a seesaw battle for 3 quarters, up until mistakes bit the Fever in the backside in the 4th quarter, and Phoenix ran away with this ball game. They had gone back and forth for the first half. They'd gone back and forth for the 3rd quarter, and then Indiana became unraveled in that 4th quarter. Phoenix gets the win and moves on to the 2nd round, ending the season for the Fever and also for both Stephanie White and, of course, the legendary Tamika Catchings. Shorty, final thoughts on the game tonight between the Merc and Fever, with Phoenix winning and moving on to round 2.
Oh my goodness. It was definitely a game of back and forth, going back and forth. As you stated, 17 lead changes. So, the 2 teams pretty much were battling it out, and it was close. It was 18-18 in the 1st quarter, and it was still close, even though the Fever was leading, by halftime. But it's just that 3rd quarter, Phoenix turned it up real quick and, started playing team defense, something that they struggled with playing all year. But, when it comes down to it, they knew when to step up. And that was my thing, even though I had previously, I think if I can bring up our predictions were pretty much wrong on the panel, or at least almost, because I had, picked the Fever because of their known tough defense to, pull out in games. But I think this is where experience, might come into play, even though both teams are very experienced, but especially, Phoenix, who is a three-time WNBA champion in the league. So they know what to do in the playoffs, regardless of their downside all season long, and that's what they did. They turned it up. I mean, Diana Taurasi started off slow. I think in her first 9 minutes, she was 0 points from the field, ended up scoring 20 overall, shooting 42%, from three. So she turned it up. Brittany Griner, turned it up. And then DeWanna Bonner came off the bench and was solid. So, in these critical times, Phoenix knows when to step up, and they surely did that tonight.
MA, looking over once more for Phoenix again, it was back and forth, seesaw battle, tug of war, basically what I would say for this, one team pulling one side, the other team pulling the other side, and no one really was able to run away for good until the Mercury did in the fourth quarter. And of course, if Diana Taurasi is cold in the first half, expect her to come out blazing hot for that second half. Again, 20 points to lead the way. Brittany Griner with a great game too inside. Marquez, final thoughts on the number 8 seed upsetting number 5 in the first round. What do you got?
Well, Phoenix did exactly what they should have done. Like I said last show, I said Brittany Griner should be established early on, and they did just that. She ended up having 18, and then Larkins was in foul trouble for a majority of the game, which really limited her production. And I think the biggest story of the game is that Phoenix shot 54%, and Indiana was only like 37. But the thing of it is, though, Indiana attempted 78 shots and Phoenix only attempted 55. Indiana had so many opportunities, so I don't really think they can blame anyone but themselves because they just weren't able to capitalize. And Shorty and I were talking about this on Twitter. We both felt like Achonwa should have played more because, I mean, in her 8 minutes, she had 4 points, 4 rebounds, and that's pretty solid considering the time she got. So I kind of think the player substitutions and patterns were a little bit weird. And considering how poorly Indiana shot from 3, I kind of wonder why Poland didn't get a little bit of a chance to play because, I mean, 3-pointers are her specialty. So I just feel like if you're shooting 19% from 3, then maybe you should change it up a little. But they just didn't make those adjustments. And that's what's so key in these single elimination games.
Crystal, I think you and I have seen it, or I know that we've all seen it plenty of times where Diana Taurasi could have a terrible first half and come out and score 20 straight points and, in a couple heartbeats, get her team either the lead or back somewhere close to taking the lead. And, another point in time, Crystal, again, of where, where I believe everyone here, I think, picked Indiana in this hangout last night. But tonight, though, was pretty much the Phoenix team we had hoped showed up game 1 and not showed up now in the postseason because it's kind of like a light switch, guys. You can't turn off and turn on, when the playoffs do start. And, Diana now 4-0 in elimination games in her career in the WNBA playoffs. Crystal, overall thoughts on Phoenix's side of the story for their victory tonight, and again, moving on to round number 2.
I actually missed most of the game due to laundry day. So I only saw literally like the last 13 seconds of the game, and by that point, it was already in Phoenix's hands. So I really don't know much about what happened. I mean, Marquez was keeping me up to date with stuff that was going on, but I didn't, personally watch the game, so I can't really say anything. But from what it looked like, Indiana kind of they fetched it out at the end because there was a point when they were up, and I actually thought they were going to be able to maintain that lead. But I think Phoenix just got too strong for them.
Couple comments, folks, from Todd Mintz in the chat box. He says, in regards to the Fever, they went 10 minutes with 4 baskets. That is where the game was lost. Indy has problem all season. Droughts for long periods when they cannot score. As Chick Hearn would have said, they couldn't throw a pea into the ocean. He also goes on to say that Taurasi and Bonner got very hot. They played a solid game on defense, holding Indy to 38%. Good effort by Brondello's club. They'll need the same or similar type of effort again on Saturday in New York. He also says what Diana did tonight was much like the Olympics, where she started slow and got hot. Never thought Indiana would win this game tonight. With that, Shorty, of course, more importantly for the Fever, of course, that closes the book on both Stephanie White and, of course, the legendary Tamika Catchings in her career. Of course, seeing her go off the floor tonight, Who left the onions nearby is what I would probably say about that. Seeing some of the videos and the photos, of course, seeing Catch leaving the floor at Bankers Life Fieldhouse one last time. Shorty, overall final thoughts on the Fever and their woes tonight, specifically in the fourth quarter, and overall final thoughts, too, about seeing Tamia Catchings' career come to a close as well.
Yeah, it was tough, especially in that fourth quarter. I mean, just look at the numbers. Phoenix outscores them 30-21, because of those missed shots, those missed opportunities. And of course, the game, not trying to blame the refs, but calls were very sketchy, on both ends of the floor. So it wasn't a really good officiating night when it comes to the refs overall. But it's just, the Fever you know, didn't come out the way they need to and should have. Last year's playoffs. Shanice Johnson was very solid, especially in the finals. In this year's playoffs, and in this game in particular, just shooting 18%, from the field, and that's uncommon of her. But she really didn't bring her A game, and also Catch as well. Even though she ended up with a double of 13 and 10. However, she just shot 33% from the field. And I think a lot of that had to do with those two quick early fouls that she picked up. And that's another thing that hampered, the Fever's chances. I think Catch, January, and I think Larkins as well, those three players picked up two quick fouls in the first half alone. And then in the second half, it was just out of whack. And again, what me and Marquez was talking about, how come, with the solid contributions by Ace, Nalia Chanwa, how come she didn't get, any more burn than she did? I think giving her more playing time would have alleviate, some of the fouls that Larkins eventually picked up, even though she didn't foul out, but still it would have alleviate, some of those fouls that she picked up, while she was on the floor. But overall, it just wasn't their, night, and it was tough knowing that this is Catch in his last game, in the field house, and seeing, Catch hug all the players, including Brian January, who broke down literally in tears. I mean, that definitely got to me. But hopefully the Fever can rebuild and bounce back, from this tough loss.
Marquez, again, once more, Fever go down at home this evening to Phoenix. And like I said as well at the top of the block, MA, was, this was a game that no one was able to run away with up until the wheels came off of the Fever in the fourth quarter. And so many things went wrong, and so many missed opportunities, too, from either layups or maybe some ticky-tack fouls that were called in the matchup. But again, Marquez, this final side of this, also again seeing TC go out here tonight as well for her final curtain call this season.
Yeah, kind of just to piggyback what Shorty said, like we were talking about, I just feel like some of the player decisions and substitutions, if they were altered a little bit, the result could have been a little bit closer, or maybe even different. Because like Shorty said, if Chandler had played, then that would have allowed Indiana as a whole to get a little bit more fit, as opposed to having Larkins have to be really cautious with the way she was defending. And I think with that first set of fouls, because Achonwa didn't have any fouls in her 8 minutes. So, I mean, if they would have done that, I just feel like that would have been someone to be a little bit tougher down low, as opposed to just having to play careful. But I really hated to see Catchings go out like that, because, I mean, I wasn't really expecting them to win, because I just felt like Indiana wouldn't have anything to match up inside with Phoenix with. But having her go off like that, it was really sad, because, I mean, no one was expecting it. And like Shorty said, having January break down, it really got to me a little bit, because it shows how much love and appreciation every Fever player has for her.
So again, Krista, once more, Fever go down at home. 8 upsets number 5 in the seeding standings, at least in this one. Again, for the Fever, Coleman and Catch combined for 26 points, but it's not enough. Again, as I mentioned and alluded to, this game was neck and neck, tug of war all night, until the Mercury were able to finally pull away for good in the fourth quarter by outscoring India's, Shorty alluded to, 30-21. overall in that fourth quarter. So, Crystal, final thoughts and observations for the Fever, and as well, again, about seeing Catch play her final game and of her illustrious and star-studded career.
Man, there's been, I think, twice in my life, and I've been really starstruck. And once when I met Catch, and I mean, honestly, like, being in the presence of somebody like that, no wonder people felt the way that they feel right now, you know, when she retired. And I felt like Brianne January, the way Brianne January felt today was how I felt in 2013. All those feelings was coming back to me in 2013. You know, Shorty knows what I'm talking about.
Yes.
When LA lost, Shorty knows exactly what I'm talking about. But that's how I felt. Like, I felt the tears didn't come down, but it's not gonna be the same. You know, losing Tamika Catchings, it's not gonna be the same at all. I mean, we all know that retirement happens, especially for your favorite players. But you when you see the level that she was playing on, you're like, oh, she could have gave it a go for another 2 years or 3 years. But you know, Father Time is undefeated, and she knew and knows what's best for her body. But it's sad. It sucks to see her go out that way. I was hoping they would at least made it to the third round. But that didn't happen, and it was so painful to watch. Like, after the end of the game, I tried to stay away from anything that had anything to do with the Fever, not because of them losing, but because we know that, you know, this is gonna be the last time we saw a Catch, and I don't know if my heart is ready for that yet.
It'll take a few days for us to set in for everybody. One comment from Todd Mintz about Stephanie White leaving for Vanderbilt. Now the season is over. He says honestly, he honestly thinks with White leaving and going outside for new direction is the best thing for Indiana. They'll need some new blood. He also says he doesn't feel too bad for Catchings. She does have a ring. She'll be very successful, whatever she decides to do with her personal endeavors, mentoring, maybe starting a family. She will be fine once it's all said and done. But again, folks, in the first matchup, number 8 seed Phoenix over number 5 seed Indiana, 89-78 from the Fieldhouse in downtown Indianapolis this evening. Final score as well, folks, in the first game, or the next game of the night, guys, Atlanta and Seattle, the matchup next up on the schedule. Atlanta is able to pull away from the Storm 94-85 in a game played from a college venue tonight. We'll get to that, of course, momentarily later on in this block of the program. Tonight for the Storm in their first playoff game in a few years. Jewel Lloyd, 24 points in the loss. Brianna Stewart, 19. Sue Bird with 12. Alicia Clark and Kalena Mosqueda-Lewis all with 8. Crystal Langholm with 7. Ramut Takashi with 5. And Noelle Quinn with 2. Abby Bishop, Jenna O'Hay, the stunt double. Crystal Thomas, Monica Wright, all DNPs. Coach decision tonight for the Atlanta Dream. No Tip Hayes and no problem. You got Angel McCoughtry dropping 37 in the victory. Bria Holmes, 21 points in the victory for ATL. Lasia Clarendon with 12. Elizabeth Williams with 9. And Mattia Yvonne Chipton, 8. Megan Simmons with 3. Carla Cortijo and Marquisha Gatling with 2 each. Rashonda Gray played 2 minutes, did not score. Tip Hayes suspended tonight due to technical foul accumulation. Rachel Holloway, DNP. Coach's decision. Little DNP due to some injury problems. A game played from the McCamish Pavilion on the campus of Georgia Tech University. Time of the total attendance tonight at today's game, ouch, 2,553. Time of the game, 2 hours flat. The officials tonight were Eric Bruton, Amy Bonner, and Jeff Wooten. No Techs in the game. 7 times the lead changed, and 10 times the game was tied. And Shorty, Sally for Seattle up at the half. But you can kind of see, though, that this Seattle team is building towards the future again, sort of dwelling away in the last half of the game. And again, Angel McCoughtry lit him up for 37 points in the game tonight. Shorty, overall thoughts on Seattle? He's back in the postseason picture, but again, still some work to be done, though, in this rebuilding stage for them. But hey, some bright spots. But Shorty, what did you see, though, tonight from Seattle in your mind, seeing them go out tonight and bowing out to Atlanta tonight from Georgia Tech? What do you got?
I definitely think, the Storm have a lot of potential heading into the future. They were solid, definitely in the first half. And somewhat in the third, they were once leading by 11 points. It's just that it was too much Angel McCoughtry, and her experience overall just, blew past, the Storm. But ultimately, like I said, I think they'll be solid for the future. Because in this game for them, I mean, you can't only have 3 players in double figures in a playoff game and expect to win. you need way more contributions from that, especially from the bench, and they didn't really get much from the bench at all. I mean, you have 8 and 5 for KML and Takashi, but that was pretty much it. So hopefully, in the future they can build up upon this and make another playoff run. But their lack of experience, minus the veteran Sue Bird, really showed in this game.
Marquez, Todd and I mutually agree on one thing for Seattle. 3 words: lack of experience is what took its toll tonight for Seattle in this game. Again, bright spots though for the future, Marquez. But you can probably see, but as you can tell, again, third quarter, fourth quarter, game on down to the wire, you can just see that the experience factor was not there for Seattle. But again, getting back in the postseason, I think, is more important for a team building towards something bigger, and maybe next year, 2 years from now, or very easily, very, very soon. Marquez, overall thoughts on Seattle, at least in tonight's game? Again, play well for a half, but again, lack of experience perhaps dooming them in this loss to the dream.
Yeah, I feel like maybe perhaps in the future Seattle should look to bolster that bench a little bit, because they didn't get much from the bench because they hardly played the bench for as long. At least for the second half of the season, we barely saw any of O'Haye, Thomas, Wright, or Bishop. Those 4 had a hard time getting off the bench. So I kind of wonder if Seattle's going to move forward from that group, or if they're going to try to, I guess, find ways to incorporate them for next year, because at this point, they kind of have a logjam, especially at that position with Clark, Mosqueda Lewis, and O'Haye. I feel like if they could have maybe had some more depth on the bench and some experience off the bench that they were willing to play, then maybe it would have helped in a few other ways. But I mean, Angel McCoughtry and Bria Holmes were just really great for Atlanta tonight. Like, there was really no answer for them, especially for Angel. She was basically doing whatever she wanted. Not only did she score a lot, she was efficient while doing it. But yeah, I feel like both of these teams really could have gone either way at the start. It's just Seattle just fell off because of the lack of experience.
Crystal, 5 players for Seattle held out tonight, coach the decision. Bishop, O'Haye, Thomas, Wright. So 4 players actually tonight did not play a single second of this contest. Again, Bishop, O'Haye, your stunt double, and then Monica Wright were all held out tonight. So I agree, though, with MA on an aspect, though, Crystal, in regards to experience. Again, maybe if they could have perhaps pulled some strings in the offseason to get some vets that have some type of playoff experience to let these younger kids look up to. Most times you see moves made in any sport that teams will bring in, maybe some old vets that have been to the promised land plenty of times, and it's kind of a good talking point for younger players coming up to the system to kind of look or talk to these players about what it takes to get there. So, Crystal, again, the Storm, though, as we've talked about, as Eric has wrote about on Fast Break, they are building towards something special, maybe as early as next season. But again, Crystal, you saw that lack of experience being completely exposed by the dream that's been there 3 different times to the league finals. So, Crystal, what do you see perhaps for Seattle kind of look ahead towards next season, and also as well your final thoughts on their game tonight as well, again, with them bowing out this evening to ATL?
I think it was Marquez. I don't know if he said it just now too, because my computer was going in and out, but I think there's a couple of changes that are going to be made. For one, with all due respect, I like Crystal Langhorne, but she's not a center. I mean, she's a little bit too small for that position. She's been small at that position since she left Maryland. She's been small at that position since she played in Washington. I think she's learned to play the position because she's been a center for so long, but I think Seattle has probably got to work on that as well. I mean, yeah, I know they have Crystal Thomas there, but I think they're probably going to have to get another center to back up. I think it's Takashi. Don't slap me, internet world, because I'm terrible with names. But they're going to have to find someone to back up Takashi. Because Crystal Langhorne's not really. She could be a forward possibly, because I think she can have the strength there. But that's one of the things they need to fix. And I also think they need to get ready for the inevitable. I mean, Sue's not getting any younger. Sue eventually will retire. Whenever that is, we don't know. But I think they probably need to start looking at point guards to fill her position. I mean, Jewel Lloyd is amazing. Don't get me wrong, but she's not really a point guard. She's more of like a 2. I think there's a couple of things that have to be done. Will they get done? Only the coach and the GM know. But I mean, yeah, I agree that this is going to be. Seattle and Connecticut are going to be the teams to watch for the future. They're going to be a team to look out for. Those two teams right there are going to end up being dangerous whenever they do find the correct pieces that they need. Whenever that may be, we don't know. Whatever's missing, we don't know, but we do know whenever they do decide to figure out what it is, they're going to be a scary team.
As long as Sue doesn't retire over the offseason this year, we're good, because we've already been cursed with retirements already in 2016. It's been a bad year for women's basketball with a lot of these players retiring this year in 2016. So, Shorty, to Atlanta, again, no Tip Hayes, no Sancho Little, no Fear. Angel McCoughtry's here, 37 points. Probably one of the best single individual efforts we've seen in a postseason game in a while, at least, I would probably say. Also, those shorties, well, Bria Holmes, 21 points as well in the starting spot for Tip. Of course, Clarendon with 12. They also had three players in double-digit scoring-wise. But, hey, when Angel gets hot, she gets hot quickly, and it was needed for Atlanta because Seattle was really dictating the pace and flow of the game in the first half. But ATL, though, still able to pull away, though, again, with that veteran leadership. And, of course, being in the playoffs, being to the finals 3 times always helps out and pays dividends. Short in your mind, bigger story, McCoughtry's 37 points or the Dream winning without Hayes and Little in your mind?
I'd say both. I'd say both overall, because you needed, those players to step up in order for them to get that win. And of course, McCoughtry, played out of her mind. My goodness, look at these stats. Shot 66% from the field, 75% from 3, 85% from the free throw line. With all that, going 37-7 tonight. So she just brought it. And regardless of anyone's personal feelings for McCoughtry, you do have to admit that when it's time to put her cape on and take over and lead the team to victory, she is that player, and she has always been that player. And of course, all of that dates back to her time at Louisville. But overall, I mean, everyone was just wondering, and that's the thing. When the Dream were coming into the matchup, I don't think people doubted McCoughtry's performance. Their question was, who else was going to step up and help along and take on the scoring load, with McCoughtry. And Bria Holmes, I mean, as you pointed out, 21 points. My goodness. Elizabeth Williams, and everyone wonders why she won, most improved. 9 points, 16 rebounds. My goodness. She was just snatching every board and wigs and weaves along with it. She was just taking down everything. I mean, no one was safe in sight when it comes to Elizabeth Williams, and that's why she was MIP, doing the dirty work, for the Dream. And also Laisha Clarendon as well, going 12, 6, and 7, for the team. So it was those names along with McCoughtry that stepped up to pull out this big win.
So again, Marquez, the Dream played 2 players short again. Hayes, technical foul accumulation suspension, and also Sancho Little held out because of injury. But again, Angel McCoughtry, player of the game, 37 points. Holmes chipping in 21 as well. And again, Marquez, sort of like we already discussed, though, in regards to, again, Angel showing off the playoff experience. Of course, the 3 fouls appearances, all the playoff games she's been there. And she's been in the top 5 in playoff scoring, I think, in the past couple of years, judging by the misspelled ESPN graphic during the broadcast tonight. But I guess, Marquez, overall thoughts on Atlanta getting this win away from home, technically, at Georgia Tech tonight?
Yeah, I think you just have to – obviously, Angel, like, no one was going to doubt that she was going to show up because she always does when it counts. But like Shorty said, I think the thing that people doubted was who was going to step up to the plate with her. And Holmes, this is her 7th straight game with at least double figures. And I think people weren't really expecting that to continue because, I mean, she is a rookie, and rookies typically don't step up in those big moments. But she did more than that. She had her career high, actually. And she's just been fantastic since the second half of the season started again. And I think if she can continue to do that, it's going to be completely beneficial for Atlanta.
So again, Crystal Angel McCoughtry, 37 points. We kind of saw her go off on the Sparks a few weeks ago at Staples Center when they stole the 3rd game of the series from LA. On once more, again, that experience showing off for, a veteran player that's been there plenty of times in her career. And again, she does it carrying the load without Tip Hayes and both Little being out tonight for many reasons. Crystal, overall thoughts on Angel's big game and, again, the Dream getting a big win and moving on to round 2?
Hey, Angel stepped up when she needed to. I mean, I think we all had a little bit of doubt that, maybe because Tiff Hayes was gone, it probably wouldn't be a win for them. But, I mean, Angel pulled it out. Angel was not going to let her team go home. And, I got to give her credit for that. That's what big-time players come up in big-time situations. I know that's very cliche, but that's the truth. I mean, Angel McCautry pretty much put the team on her back. So if I was her, I'd be laying down right now, icing them shoulders, icing them biceps, icing everything. Because she stepped up big for them. 37 points for Angel. And I think she has the most, not the most, but she's on the list for, I guess, the highest points of scored in WNBA for 4 times now. I mean, that just lets you know how much she wants it. I mean, Angel steps up in a huge way, and she does this every year. Like you said, she did it against LA, but it seems like every year when there's a big game, whenever they get there, you could just rely on Angel. It's incredible.
Maybe cliche, Crystal, but it works, and it's very true about big-time players making plays in big-time situations as well. But again, behind 37 points from Angel McCautry, the Dream beat Seattle to move on to round 2, 94-85, and also tonight the Mercury over the Fever, 89-78, that final score as well. Moving on, guys, through round 1, now to round numero dos. 2 games on the weekend schedule beginning on Saturday and Sunday, beginning at 4 o'clock on Saturday night. Merc and the Liberty. Guys, this will mark the first time since the inaugural year of 1997 that we'll have the Mercury and Liberty playing in a WNBA playoff matchup, since the original format being done of the top 2 teams of each conference moving on to the semifinals and the league finals. So, Shorty, Phoenix already has 1 upset in the books. But here the waiting is Tina Charles, Sugar Rogers, and a rested Liberty team who had downside with 3 losses to end the regular season. So, Shorty, thoughts and who you got, Merc and Liberty on NBA TV, ESPN3, or MSG?
This is an interesting one, but I am slowly pulling towards Phoenix, only because, yes, New York has had that rest, but there's still questions about, a lot of their players that were hurt for much of the second half, including Kia Stokes, Tanisha Wright, and Shoni Schimmel, even though she didn't play big minutes. But still, you need, those bodies in the playoffs to, hopefully ensure a win. And I'm not sure if, without them, will the team, have enough? Of course, they have Charles, who is the do-all person for the team. But, when it comes to a point where you just have Charles and maybe Rogers, but no one else to step up, I mean, I'm not sure, if the Liberty can pull out, a victory in a single elimination round without, those said players. So if those same names are not around for, this contest, I will have, Phoenix ultimately pulling out the win.
All right, 1X in the tic-tac-toe board. Marquez, who do you have, the Merc or the Libs?
I have Phoenix because if Stokes doesn't play, then that's going to be a really big disadvantage down low in the paint for them. Because I don't even think Swartz would be able to do that much of a good job containing Griner. And not only that, having DeWanna Bonner off the bench, I feel like she is going to be an X factor for them in this game, because I don't think New York would have anyone that can really stop her either, especially if she's hot. And depending on who's healthy or who's not healthy, I'm just not sure New York would have enough anyways, because like Shorty said, Tina Charles, as great as she is, that's not going to be enough to beat Phoenix, because you just need more. And Rogers can be that second option, but it's still going to take more than that.
All right, 2 votes or 2 X's now on the tic-tac-toe board. Crystal, who do you have, Phoenix or New York?
Oh, man. That's a tough one. Like everybody's been saying, if New York can stay healthy, I think New York can take this. But ultimately, New York hasn't really been playing that well, and I don't know how healthy they are. Phoenix, normally on playoffs, they go on a tear, so it's hard to say. I want to say Phoenix, but I want to say New York, but I have to go with what I think is going to happen. I'm going to pick Phoenix.
Wow. X's across the board. 1, 2, 3, 4, going 8/3 in this prediction. I think, guys, we always talk about how the postseason is a new season. We've seen it with the Lynx and how they've always do well, of how the Sparks always fizzle out in round one, and how the Mercury go on tears too. I would agree with this same exact aspect, guys. And also, records don't matter or anything. I've seen many different things happen with 8 seeds, realistically. The LA Kings in 2012, the number 8 seed in the NHL playoffs, getting and winning the Stanley Cup that season. I've seen a lot of things. I know that we've seen a lot of things where the underdog, that that bottom seed or what have you, does something like this, goes on a magical run. And I would agree. Plus, the rest doesn't help. And also, will burnout be the big talking point with Tina Charles too, even with the break or with the rest for the Liberty. So all 4 going with Phoenix on the road on Saturday. Sunday game, guys, at 10 a.m. right up against NFL football scheduling on ESPN2. That does not help at all. ATL at Chicago from Allstate Arena on ESPN2 on Sunday morning on the West Coast. Shorty, who you got?
This is definitely another interesting matchup, but I think in this one I'm going to lean towards the Dream, only because, of course, the Sky have shown that they can pull out wins without Deladon, but again, this is the playoffs. This is a whole nother ball game, and I'm not sure, I think this would be a matchup where they would possibly really need the services of EDD, but she's done for the season, and with the performance that McCautry just displayed in this game, she may not be able to repeat those same numbers exactly, but I can see her coming out with that same intensity, for the Dream. And also they're going to have Tiffany Hayes finally back in this matchup, so that's another plus for them. So overall, I have the Dream pulling out a victory.
1 vote for ATL to steal this round 2 matchup from the number 4 seed Sky. Marquez, who do you have and why?
Atlanta, because I also think that it's going to be tough for Chicago to pull this one out. I just think these teams match up pretty well together, and if Angel doesn't even have to do what she did tonight, because she's going to have more help in next game with Hayes returning and Holmes if she can continue. I just think that is just enough offense to push them through altogether. And then if you have someone like Clarendon add in 10 or Williams adding in 9 or 10, then I just think it may be a little bit too much for Chicago.
2 votes for the Dream. Crystal, who do you have?
Man, Chicago's not gonna do much. That injury to EDD really helped them. It came at the worst time ever. Injuries suck, but that one's really it sucks for them. And they're already without Laney, and we're not sure how much Tam Young and everybody else can do. So I'm gonna have to go with Atlanta. The way that Angel played, there's no stopping, especially with a team like Chicago. There's no stopping Angel and Tiff Hayes.
All right, so all 4 of us going with away teams on the panel. 4 votes for Phoenix, 4 votes for Atlanta to move on to the 3rd round, which would be the league semifinals against either the Lynx or the Sparks. Now, with that, folks, that does now bring me, more importantly, to what would occur out of this situation, hypothetically, if in fact it was supposed to be, or if it was Phoenix and Minnesota. Well, guys, it would be Atlanta and Los Angeles playing each other, as again, it's going to be the highest remaining seed playing the number 2 seed. Then it would be the Mercury facing the Lynx. If in fact this was the picture, again, the teams are reseeded following each round. So the Mercury slide over to the left side of your bracket to play the Liberty on Saturday. The Dream swapping to go to the right side of the bracket to play the Sky on Sunday again. Should our results hold, that would be Atlanta and Chicago upsetting the 4 and 3 seeds. That would be Atlanta playing Los Angeles in round 3, and the Lynx and Mercury hooking up again in the league or conference, or now the league semifinals as well, 1v8 and also 2v6 for those seeding matchups at this point. With that, guys, it's now that we'll move on now to the results of our poll questions. Now, folks, we had 2 separate poll questions asked tonight in regards to questions we wanted to kind of get off our chest. So first and foremost, after tonight, seeing the first 2 elimination style games. Are you thumbs up or thumbs down on the one and done survive and advance format of the postseason? 24 votes in. However, though, guys, 54% of the voters say thumbs down on the single elimination format, and 46% said thumbs up on the new single elimination format. Shorty, what did you vote for? And after the night, by judging it now by 2 games of this format, what are your thoughts?
I voted thumbs down because you look at that Fever Mercury game, and even though it was a good game overall, still you didn't, want to see the careers of Tamika Catchings or Penny Taylor. If the results would have went the other way, you wouldn't, want to see their careers, be one and done in an instant just like that. And sadly, that's exactly what happened. I mean, Tamika Catchings' career and all the hard work that, the Fever have at least, put in for the team this year just went kaput, just like that, in a simple magic trick, and it was all over. So I'm definitely not a fan of it. And even though, I'm a fan of the LA Sparks, of course, and they had double buys, but I just think, what if LA was in this situation? Not only if it was this year or, the next following years, if LA, is in a single game elimination situation where they've worked hard, during the regular season and end up and their season is over just like that within a snap. So I am not in favor of the single elimination rounds at all.
So Marquez, Shorty voted thumbs down for the single elimination format. What did you vote for, and what's your reason behind the answer? All right, so apparently Marquez is muted, and for some reason I can't pull him off mute, so I think we'll get him back on momentarily. We'll come back to MA momentarily. So, Crystal, what about you? What did you vote for, and what's your reasoning behind your response to the question? Again, thumbs up, thumbs down for single elimination format for the WNBA's opening 2 rounds.
Well, I think I voted for the other poll. When I think that one was like a best of 2, best of 3. I see why they did it. The competition has been a lot heavier this season. I understand why they did it. Do I like it? No. So if I would have voted for that one, I probably would have given it a thumbs down. Like Shorty said, it's all good and everything when your team gets that bye to that second round or that third round, then it's all good. But when you have a legend like Tamika Catchings who goes out in the first round, it kind of makes you rethink some things like, we do the right thing. Should we have given him at least a best of 3 or something like that? Or should we have, bring it out to a best of 7 where you got to win 4 games? So it kind of makes you think. I think it is more competition. I will say that. I think the competition this season has been phenomenal. You could tell by the way the ratings went up a little bit. You could just tell the level of play this season was great. And I do think they should keep the whole first 4-8, the first 8 of any division. I think they should keep that aspect of it. But as far as the single elimination for the first 2 rounds, I'm not sure if I'm quite feeling that.
Crystal, hold that thought about ratings. We'll get to that in the next segment here. But again, Marquez, 54% of the 24 voters that voted in our poll question again said thumbs down about the single elimination format. So Marquez, after you've seen it played out tonight again with 2 games under this format, what did you vote for in the poll question, and what is your response to your reasoning behind your answer?
I'm not gonna lie, I kind of like it in a way because it forces the coaches and players to make adjustments on the fly as opposed to relying on like an additional game or 2 to make those adjustments. Because I know it's sort of like tournament-ish and like college-y, but we see single eliminations almost everywhere in college. NFL does it, but I just think I see certain aspects that are pros and cons because, one shooting night or a bad officiating call can cost a team a game. But at the same time, it forces people to actually coach and go out there and play as opposed to like using like a game 2 at home or a game 3 at home as a safety net.
Guys, I actually voted thumbs down too, but I do, though, get Marquez's point of view inside of the story. But I think, though, like Crystal said, though, it's like, damn, we just saw Tamika Catchings' career end in a 1-game elimination playoff. And again, it was a very close vote, guys. Again, just to kind of reiterate once more, but again, 54% of the voters said thumbs down, 46% said thumbs up for the format. in my point of, in my thoughts, though, guys, 2 out of 3 is the easiest way to do this. If you're going to do this type of, 1-round, 2-round matchup, 2 out of 3, way fair, way easier to do as opposed to, again, seeing someone lose again with 1 game. But I do, though, see, though, Marquez's point of view, though, again, about coaching matchups and, again, all it being done on the fly during the course of the game, more so than it being, with the 1 or the extra game bonus. The next question, though, we did ask, as Crystal brought up, though, at this point, again, if the WNBA was to tweak the playoff format, perhaps in the future, which best of format would you like to see throughout the entire postseason? We had 3 options, but 48% of the voters said 3 out of 5 for all the series, while 29% said 2 out of 3, and 22% said 4 games out of 7, much like baseball and the National Basketball Association and also the NHL playoffs. Shorty, what did you vote for in this poll question and your response to your answer? What is it?
Yeah, well, sadly, I did not get to vote in the poll question. I think by the time I got around to it, the poll was already closed. But if I, would have voted, I would have picked, the 3 out of 5, round. I think, that's the most suitable, not only because I think it, gives each team enough games, to play, but also, you have to think about issues of, overlapping with the NBA and other sports events coming up, other seasons and things like that. So I say 3 out of 5.
So 1 vote for 3 out of 5, Marquez. If you were to vote, or if you voted this poll question, what is your answer and your response to it as well?
Yeah, I'd say 3 out of 5. I would say, because it does. At the same time, I guess it gives the fans, the home fans, or maybe the other team, an opportunity to see their team in the playoffs. I guess that is one of the biggest gripes about single elimination. I mean, you cheer on your fans all year long, and then you don't get the chance to see them play in the playoffs. That kind of limits the fans for the other team. But like Shorty said, 3 out of 5, it kind of overlaps, because I saw my timeline. One of the biggest issues was that the New York and Phoenix game wasn't going to be on ESPN because my school's football team is on TV that for that time slot. So I mean, you can't really go back and forth and compete with NCAA football, because I mean, that's going to be the one to get the time slot every time. So I guess you just have to be really careful in terms of like overlapping with other sports in terms of those that you have to compete with.
So again, Crystal, 2 votes now for 3 out of 5. The current format, of course, is 3 out of 5 in the league semi and league finals 2-2-1 format. Again, the higher seed hosts the first 2 games and then game 5 if need be. Crystal, if you were to vote or did vote on this poll question, what was your answer and what is your response?
Out of 5. See them do a 4 out of 7. It will interfere with other seasons, the NBA season, especially the NFL season's coming up. Well, it's on right now. Hockey season for some people who are into that. I think 3 out of 5 is perfect. To see Indiana get another chance at Phoenix. I mean, I deep down, I believe that they could have beat them. I would love to see 3 out of 5. I mean, can you imagine, like Marquez said, you cheer on your team for so long. Hey, take this picture. San Antonio finally gets the playoffs, right? Finally cheer on his stars at least twice, depending on if where they would stand. He could cheer them on and see them in the playoffs, work their magic or lack thereof, and it's fair for everyone to see their team play. So I would have to agree with the 3 out of 5, but I do understand why they switched it.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry about that, Crystal, but I do agree though as well, guys. With me, of course, being a big baseball fan, they've gone 3 out of 5 in the opening round. After the wild card round is over, the divisional series is 3 out of 5. You get so many games in such a short amount of time, and there's no margin for error as much as it would be for a 4 out of 7 series. You get a little bit more leeway. But all of us in favor though of 3 out of 5. And again, we had we had 45 people tonight, guys, take part in both poll questions. So thank you guys for helping out and having your voice and your votes counted tonight on the program. We'll have more poll questions. Of course, we have random topics, of course, with that. Guys, as Crystal brought up, though, we have some analytics and numbers to discuss now in regards to the metrics coming out for the 2016 season, guys. Boy, oh boy, a special year indeed for the WNBA's 20th season, with the WNBA recording its highest attendance since 2011 with 1,561,530 fans having tickets scanned and coming through the turnstiles at all 12 arenas, and also its highest average attendance per game at 7,655 over the same time period, which is a 4.6 increase over last season. Season highlighted by record-breaking numbers for the Sky and Fever. The Sky set franchise records for both average attendance at 7,009 and single-game crowd against Los Angeles with 16,444 in the house. The Fever had its highest average at 8,575 since their 2001 season, and boosted the second highest single-game attendance in franchise history with 17,704 at the Fieldhouse for Catch's last final regular season home game. And also the Mercury recorded the highest average attendance for the franchise for the first time, or for the franchise since their 1999 campaign, when they averaged almost 10,351 inside the Purple Palace since 1999. Across television, folks, 11% increase in viewership on ESPN and ESPN2. Compare that is 224,000 viewers as opposed to 202,000 over last season. The season was highlighted, of course, by the Mercury and Lynx opening game from May 14th, which delivered 505,000 viewers and delivered the highest-rated regular season WNBA game watched on the ESPN Family Network since 2011. Over on WNBA.com, the website set a record for traffic with an average monthly unique visitors up 22% and video views up 50% over last season. Over on WNBA League Pass, the out-of-market subscription live streaming network saw a record increase of 24% in subscriptions this season. And of course, on the social media platform, the league surpassed 12 million likes and followers across all league, team, and player social platforms, growing by 20% with the addition of 3 million fans on social media from last season. The WNBA also achieved records with over 530 million impressions and 50 million video views, both metrics more than doubling last year's mark. And merchandise sales-wise, the league saw record sales on WNBAstore.com, an increase of 30% over last season, highlighted by both Breanna Stewart and the Storm capturing the top spot on the list of best-selling jerseys and team merchandise. All that, folks, from our great friend Sue Favor from Women's Hoops World and Hoopism.com. So, Shorty, in a very, very historic WNBA season, everything is a green arrow pointing up, and there is a lot of glass ceilings being broken with all these numbers, again, from attendance to viewership to digital media to League Pass subscriptions, Shorty, all the way to jersey sales. Shorty, in your mind, how big of a year has this been for the WNBA with all these numbers that we thrown out from in-house attendance, viewership, the things that we always gripe about and talk about on social media or, of course, on the network, Shorty? What do these numbers, I guess, speak to you about or say to you when you see or hear these numbers being spewed out across social media?
I think the numbers, overall represents that, the league is trending up, trending forward, trending in the right direction. For so long, we've been hearing of the WNBA, going backwards and possibly even folding, but the numbers and stats, says otherwise. And it's good to hear, teams, especially like the Chicago Sky, have upgraded in their attendance because they have been, struggling a bit in the attendance department. And even, Dallas as well, a team that really didn't do too good at the BOK Center in Tulsa. This year moving into Dallas has really helped them, average over a little over 5K or more, in their attendance. So their attendance, went up as well, moving from Tulsa to Dallas. So hopefully, the league will continue to keep trending up and, continue to do well, even if some might see it as marginal growth. Still, the fact that growth is being represented, means that the league is headed in the right direction.
So again, Marquez, a lot of numbers to digest, but more importantly, again, the WNBA records its highest attendance since 2011, 1,561,530 561,530 fans came to WNBA regular season games across all 12 markets. Marquez, what do all these positive numbers for the third straight year say to you, I guess, in regards to what is going to be happening, I guess, for next season, in regards to how the WNBA has built off of year after year success, at least recently since 2013?
Yeah, I agree. I think it's nice to see how everything seems to be going forward in terms of a lot of different aspects and departments and numbers. But I think the thing to look out for, because I'm not trying to be the negative Nancy here, but I think the thing to look out for is how accurate maybe those attendance numbers may be. Because, I mean, I think some teams somewhat inflate the numbers in terms, I forget the process, but I don't think some teams are quite accurate. Because I've seen some box scores where, like a Mystics game per se, would say they had like 9,000 in the building. And then when you watch it on TV, it's like, it doesn't even look like half. And I've seen someone else on my timeline talk about maybe the numbers if you excluded camp days, because I know there are like 3 and that really inflates the total. But all that aside, it's nice to see how much it as a whole seems to be growing in terms of popularity, attendance, digital sales, clicks, trafficking, all that. And I just think it's going to be, this is just the one step. I think it can get better though.
Marquez, don't worry. As someone that works in pro sports, I know firsthand about it being tickets sold, not bodies in the seats when they post the attendance numbers. So don't worry. It's been up here with me since last hockey season. But again, Crystal, okay, maybe if it is inflated, nonetheless, though, Crystal, 1.5 million people, again, coming to WNBA games, 1,561,530 coming to games. Again, that's the highest attendance recorded in the WNBA in 5 years. Again, also, of course, the Sky and Fever and Mercury, of course, seeing attendance with their games this season. TV viewership as well, up almost 11%. Digital sales, merchandising sales, social media, League Pass, whatnot. But again, Crystal, this is at least the third straight year, at least, whether the numbers are right or wrong, Crystal, that the WNBA has recorded some type of positive growth. And again, it's baby steps for this league, so as we know day in and day out, Crystal. So, KT, overall thoughts on a lot of numbers to digest. But what does the growth, though, for the third straight year for the WNBA say to you, though, as both a fan of a sport and also someone who plays the great game of basketball?
Well, 2 things. One, for the people who are claiming that they're not watching, somebody is. So you're obviously not hurting the league that much. I mean, there's people that you always see, oh, I don't watch. Oh, why is this on TV? Oh, well, it doesn't matter because obviously the league is here to stay and the fans are loyal and nobody's going anywhere. Second, if we can get this many people, to pay for these seats, that means we can pay these women a little bit higher. Obviously, the revenue was there, the merchandise sales, the viewership, the fact that people are buying tickets, whether or not some of these tickets, whether or not they're counting the tickets, not the bodies in the arena, still, the stuff was still being sold. The stuff was still pretty high. And like you said, it was the highest in 15 years. I mean, it's cool to see. It's amazing to see that. That means the league is growing. That's something that we've always talked about. Hopefully it can grow some more by not putting games on ESPN News and actually ESPN or ESPN2 or NBA TV for that matter. I mean, why couldn't you put on NBA TV? That's a different story, though. But I mean, it's awesome to see that. Just lets you know that there is growth being made. That's a great positive, and hopefully the WNBA keeps going up from here.
So again, folks, to kind of at a quickly look over the numbers again, WNBA registers highest attendance since 2011, 1,561,530 fans came to games this regular season, and the highest average in the league averaged 7,655, almost a 5% increase over last year. Of course, the Sky and Fever also had a new franchise record set with average attendance for the Sky at 7,009 and single game crowd versus the Sparks at 16,444. The Fever also had its highest average since 2001 at 8,575 on average, and again had 17,000 plus in the building for Catch's last regular season home game, while Phoenix recorded their highest average attendance at 10,351 for the franchise since 1999. 224,000 people viewed games on ESPN or ESPN2. That's a 11% increase over 202,000 people from the 2015 campaign, and almost 505,000 people tuned in to watch the Mercury and Lynx duke it out with the first game of the year back on May 14th this season. On WNBA.com, they had a average of 22 of a average increase of 22% with visitors to the site, and had their video views go up almost halfway up, 50% over last season. The league, WNBA League Pass, saw a record 24% increase in subscriptions for this season. And on social media, of course, the league surpassed 12 million likes and followers across the league, with 3 million fans also joining in, growing 20% over last season, with also having 50 million views on videos. Both metrics were doubled by last season. And then the Storm and Breanna Stewart helped the WNBAstore.com increase their sales by 30% of the season as well. So good news again, folks, for the third straight year that we have some good talk from the WNBA. And also, by the way, at this point, Steve Rice, the Women's Basketball Daily Guy, says the new Nike partnership has got to help out too as well. Shorty, in your mind, how big does that, I guess, have too on the WNBA going forward with Nike now sponsoring both the NBA and then the WNBA for jerseys next season?
I definitely think, it's big on their part, since a good, 80, 85, percent of the players are sponsored by Nike. So to have Nike willing to back up the league and willing to, sponsor the league is definitely great on their part. And hopefully they design some much in more better looking jerseys. But yeah, hopefully, they'll design some much better looking jerseys. But overall, it's good, for the league to have that sponsorship with Nike.
Marquez, we're going past our deadline here, but quickly, Marquez, what are your thoughts about how much Nike may help out the WNBA, perhaps with its new partnership with both the NBA and W next season?
Yeah, hopefully the jerseys can look a little bit more authentic in terms of like team designs. I miss the jerseys where like San Antonio's, for example, has the stars coming up on the sides. I mean, I just hope that these uniforms just have a little bit more creativity and allow teams to be a little bit more, I don't know the word, I guess more creative and out there with their jersey designs.
Marquez alludes to the fact about that, and you can see my Candace Parker jersey, folks, to the left right here where I'm pointing, signed by CP. Was the jersey before they kind of did that entire rebrand, of course, but they had the sparks on the side. Crystal, quickly, what does Nike's partnership mean for the NBA and also for the W2 next season?
Oh, man, it means a lot. If anybody knows me, I'm a Nike head. I have on Nike gear right now. Nike, if you want to sponsor me to wear your uniforms in an ad, I will gracefully do so for some socks or something. You ain't even got to pay me. I'll do it for free. But I think it's going to be awesome. I think it's going to mean a lot. I think it will make the revenue go up. And like Marquez said, I hope people get creative with their own designs. I'm tired of seeing the same old regular Adidas design that every team has pretty much.
Yeah, all of us in favor of new designs. With that, though, folks, we will call it a night right here. Sorry for going past scheduled landing time, folks, but now we will descend and come in for landing at this point. With that, though, folks, for Crystal Thomas and Tanisha Stewart joining us up from Los Angeles, and our good buddy Marcus Anderson from Louisiana State University down there in the great state of Louisiana. Cal McClurg signing off, folks, here for the night from Studio 171 in San Diego. Back here, folks, same bat time, same bat channel, same bat people in this hangout, 9:30 PDT, 12:30 a.m. EDT tomorrow back here on the WNBA 365 Network here, folks. With that, though, folks, take care. So long and good night. Bye-bye.